Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today we're going back to the roots of the YouTube channel and going for another educational series, another set of guide videos that I have in store for you guys. So this platform on YouTube really started with me making videos to help people improve at Age of Empires 2, and that's really something that I really enjoy doing and still enjoy doing to this day. So without further ado, I want to present to you guys a brand new series that will hopefully help newer players and up and coming players alike to develop their skills in Age of Empires and kind of just help them learn the civs in a more in-depth manner than what you would just find looking at the text tree yourself. So without further ado, I present to you guys a brand new series, the ultimate guide to Age of Empires 2 civilizations, and today we're going to kickstart that off, episode 1 today, with the Magyars. Now this series is kind of similar to my old series of So You Want to Play. However, the So You Want to Play series has just become a little bit tedious for me to make, and the episodes are extremely long, so I want to cover the same kind of concepts in that video, but just do it in a more timely manner and a more digestible manner with this series. And if it does well, I will replace and redo the civs that I did in the So You Want to Play video in this new series. However, for the veterans on my channel, I will be starting this series by covering the civilizations that I didn't cover in my So You Want to Play videos. So this will absolutely be a brand new series for everyone for the first 14 episodes, because that's the amount of civilizations that I didn't cover yet. So very exciting news, and we're gonna hop right in with the Magyars today. Now, the Magyars are a very interesting civilization, and personally one of my favorites because they tend to excel with their cavalry and cavalry archer compositions. So the Magyars are described as a cavalry civilization, and their first bonus is that villagers kill wolves with one strike, which is pretty situational and helps with tower rushing or some other things. They also get forging, iron casting, blast furnace, which is the attack upgrade for cavalry and melee units, for absolutely free. This means that they research immediately upon aging up, and you don't even need a blacksmith for it. Their next bonus is that scout cavalry, light cavalry, and hussars, so the entire scout line, costs minus 15% food, which is a really nice bonus, and it's flexible. It helps you in the early game, in the mid game, and even in, or especially in the late game. As you all know, my love for hussars is very high. The unique unit is the Magyar Hussar, and we'll talk a little bit more about him later. The unique text is Corvinian Army and Castle Age, which makes their Magyar Hussar cost no gold, and Recurve Bow and Imperial Age, which gives their cavalry archers +1 range and +1 attack. Their team bonus is pretty borderline useless. It's foot archers +2 line of sight, but that's the way it goes sometimes with the bonuses. However, this can help in certain cases when you need to see a little bit more on the map with your archers. Moving on to their tech tree now, we see that they have fully upgraded Arbalest, fully upgraded heavy cav archers with of course the possibility to get recurve bow. They also get thumb ring and Parthian tactics, so really solid lineup for the archer range. For the barracks, you have champion, halberdier, and supplies and arson, but unfortunately you're just missing that squire's tech, so not fully upgraded on the infantry, but still above average and some good options in certain cases. Their stable is pretty stacked with paladin and hussar all fully upgraded, but they don't get any regional units. And their siege workshop is pretty average, probably the only thing they didn't really get good options for. They have cap ram, onager, and heavy scorpion, but they are missing siege ram, siege onager, and bomber cannon, which are 3 pretty good options and pretty good tools. Their blacksmith is pretty good, only missing plate mail armor, which hurts their infantry pretty much only against range units. That's the only time it really matters. Your halberdiers will be weak to arbalest and skirm, and the same can be said for your champions. For their navy, they're pretty average, but they do get galleon, fast fire ship, and shipwright, which are 3 pretty important upgrades for late game. No heavy demo and no elite cannon galleon, which is pretty meh, pretty whatever. But of course, the big thing with the navy is that you don't really get any bonuses towards the navy, so it's not the most important for Magyars, and it's something that's average at best. University is again pretty average, with only siege engineers being the standout tech that they get. Keep and bomber tower are not available, nor is architecture and aeroslits, so defenses are not the strongest for the civilization. For their monastery, they're pretty average, missing redemption, but they do get block printing and sanctity for extra range and higher HP monks, so they're pretty passable there. And for their late game eco upgrades, it's once again passable with cooperation and 2 mensal there, but missing guilds at the market. Next up for the castle, they've got the Magyar Hussar. Let's talk about this guy for a second. Cost of 80 food and 10 gold base. They have really good stats comparable to the Hussar and light cavalry. They actually have better stats than them in pretty much all departments, except Pierce Armor, that will be the same. However, the big strength of the Magyar Hussar is the fact that it actually has an attack bonus against siege. So against those siege comps, the ones with onager in the back line or heavy scorpion, or even just comps that mix in trebuchets and bomber cannons, the Magyar Hussar are going to be excellent at sniping those in the late game, especially when gold becomes very hard to come by. Alright, so now that we've got a nice little overview of what the Magyars can do and what their options are, let's talk a little bit more about what the civ's strengths and weaknesses are. So as far as the things that Magyars are good at, the first thing that comes to mind is that they don't get an eco upgrade that's going to be outright extra resources or cheaper techs or anything that helps you develop your economy very quickly or age up to the next age faster, no free villagers, nothing of the sort. However, there's one thing that does stand out to me, which is the free techs from the blacksmith, the free attack upgrades. Now, this is a very unique bonus, and not a lot of civilizations civilizations get the kind of power spikes that Magyars get with this bonus. However, that's really the only thing Magyars do get. Besides the cheaper scouts, it's the blacksmith upgrades that will really be setting the pace for the civilization. And my best advice when playing the Magyars, and what I consider to be their biggest strength, is the fact that they have amazing options in terms of military at all stages of the game. So the advice to play them really well is to simply make use of that military and just play super aggressive and high amounts of army at all stages of the game. Some popular opening strategies with Magyars include the scout rush, because you get cheaper scouts. You can also do a really strong men at arm rush because you get the free forging right from feudal age. They're actually quite powerful, especially when you mix in a pesky spear when going up against other people going scouts. And even if you play feudal age going archers or crossbow, in castle age you can either transition into cav archers to start massing them up early, or you can just switch to knights and have +2 knights right off the bat and only have to pick up the armor upgrades to have fully upgraded knights very quickly. And of course, towards late game, your best options will be your heavy cav archer and your hussar line. You also have the option to go paladin and also arbalest if you find yourself with a big massive crossbows. You also have the option of halberdier if needed, if your opponent has the tempo with heavy camel or whatnot that might counter your cavalry. And you also once again have the option, if you have a lot of castles, to go for their Magyar hussar, which I consider that to be their biggest and best strength in late game, the Magyar hussar with heavy cav archer as the composition. And for their siege, simply sticking with trebs will do you very good. Their siege workshop really isn't anything special, and their main composition never really depends on siege from the workshop. All you need is something to kill buildings, and the trebuchet does that job just fine. That's my best recommendation for throughout the ages, what kind of options you have and what kind of military you want to be making. And their biggest strength, as I said earlier, is simply being able to make use of these options and force your opponent, who probably has an eco bonus, to invest their eco bonus into military to then be on par with you, who gets the free military upgrades to help you with that tempo and that development. The biggest power spikes and tempo timings for Magyars come at every age when playing with cavalry units. So right off the bat in feudal age, your initial scout will actually have a +1 attack. It might seem like such a small deal, but being able to win every single scout war against your opponent is actually a really big deal. This lets you scout very aggressively and be very oppressive to your opponent. If he, is trying to wall with 1 or 2 villagers, you can easily pick one of those up because your scout has 6 attack right from the get-go. This also leads to really good follow-up, because if you keep your opponent open, he has to deal with either men-at-arms or scouts with extra attack right from the get-go as well, which is just a very tough task in a lot of cases. So really strong power spike in feudal age. Same can be said about castle age when they get the free +2 attack on their knights, and they also have the ability to start making cav archers, which could provide a unique kind of power spike or tempo point for the civilization as well. Keep in mind though, guys, that Magyar cav archers have nothing special about them in castle age. So if you decide to go for cav archers, your main strategy should be to just mass them up while contesting the map and just waiting till late game where you can get some of your special upgrades and really make their cav archers a threat to deal with. And of course, their power spike in imperial age, while it does come early in early imp with the free blast furnace, which is the extra +2 attack that you're missing on your knights and cavalry units in general, while that's a nice spike, I think their biggest spike is when they get the recurve bow for the cav archers. I would say that recurve bow should be picked up before heavy cav archer, because recurve bow gives that extra range. An 8 range heavy cav archer, that's as much as arbalest and that's as much as skirms fully upgraded, which is pretty insane. And I would say that that's probably the biggest power spike for Magyars. Once you get that and you have constant light gaff production, you're in a really good spot. But of course, you should always work to get a fully upgraded army. So even though you get recurve bow early, make sure you're still working to pick up heavy cav archer, because it's still a really good tech and adds beefiness to your cav archers and also gives them an extra attack, so more damage output. Ultimately, the best position for Magyars is late game. It is truly a late game civ. Despite all of their strengths and tempo timings throughout the game, they are truly a late game civ and something that shines once all the upgrades are gotten on both sides. You only really die in late game to a civilization that either has an amazing composition in late game as well, like yourself, or a civilization that has a ton of siege and they're kind of forcing you to fight in a choke point where Magyars can struggle. But as long as the map is somewhat open and you're able to raid, Magyar composition in late game will be amazing. So don't be scared to get to that late game and really just spam up fully upgraded units. It also feels great to do. So if that's your style, Magyars is a great civilization for you. So now that we've got an idea of how we want to be playing the Magyars and what our biggest tempo spikes are and some of the strong strategies we can go for throughout the game, let's talk about their matchups with some of the other civilizations to see how they match up against them. Now, when thinking about Magyars, because they're such a flexible civ as we talked about and have a lot of options in the tech tree, they actually don't have a lot of terrible matchups, but they also don't have a lot of insanely good matchups for them as well. They're kind of one of those civilizations that can do well in almost every single game. However, as you start to climb the ladder and play against stronger players, their biggest weakness does lie in the fact that they don't have have economy bonuses, and so they tend to lose out against civilizations that develop very quickly and that have amazing economy bonuses that sometimes they just develop in a way that's so fast that it just prevents you from getting to your units, to that late game, or to certain power spikes that you want to usually make use of. On the flip side though, Magyars tend to do really well against civilizations that are a bit slow to get going, kind of like themselves. However, they usually have the better late game. So just kind of using your power spikes against civilizations that are slow to start, making them commit army and defend your aggression, and then just kind of developing to that really strong late game is generally an amazing situation for Magyars. And if you're able to do that, I would consider that a really good matchup against some of the slower civilizations. So that's kind of the general idea you need to have with Magyars. Other civilizations, it might be a little bit more black and white. You know, this Civ counters them and they're really good against this Civ, but for Magyars, it's a little bit more gray area and they're kind of pretty good against everything. Alright guys, that's been the guide for Magyars. I feel like I covered a lot of different things that you need to know about Magyars and kind of just went in detail where needed and just showing you guys some of the best options you can go for and just a quick guide to be able to understand how to play with them and how to win with them, what your win conditions are and what you need to be scared of. If there's anything I didn't cover, any questions you have on the civilization, please leave them in the comments below. I will be going through them and answering any questions because I want this to be a really big, really nice holistic take on Magyars, and I want you guys to leave this video and be able to just hop right into a ranked game and try them out for yourselves and see if you guys enjoy them. So let me know if there's any questions in the comments below about the civilization, and just give me some general feedback on the series itself, where we can take it, whether you guys like it or not. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.